When you walk into a bike shop for the first time, I think it can be a really overwhelming experience for most people. I think especially because, bikes in general are not something that's advertised and people aren't buying bikes very frequently. So it's not a topic most people are thinking about on a daily basis. Things like running shoes and shoes, still overwhelming to buy, but you're buying them a lot more frequently. So the average person kind of knows a little bit more. So when you walk into a bike shop, I would say first thing you want to look for is a friendly staff. There is a stigma of a lot of bike shops that they don't want to deal with customers that are not buying expensive bikes. So first thing is, if someone tries to get you onto their most expensive bike in the bike shop, you're in the wrong place. Now, I think it's great. What you do want to look for is you want to find a shop that has a wide variety of prices. So if you walk in and you see all bikes are over $1,000, I would say turn around and head out the door. That's probably not the right bike shop to really understand what are all the offerings. From as little as $300 down, up to maybe $10,000. And so that's going to allow you to kind of browse the products and have the bike shop worker kind of take you through why is this one this much, and so you can make a decision around what you feel is best for you as the rider. Ultimately, they're going to help tell you what they think is good or bad for you. But yeah, if you don't have that selection immediately, you're not going to be able to fully understand the variety of products that exist out there. I would say, secondly, you want to look for different categories of bikes. So, if you walk into a bike shop and, all you see are road bikes, if you're not looking for a road bike, then you're clearly in the wrong place. Now, however, if you know very specifically that you're a road cyclist and you're going to race in triathlons and you walk in and all they carry is triathlete bikes or road bikes, well, then you're in the right place. So I think if you don't know what you're looking for, and you walk in and are just kind of looking to survey the market and find products, first thing you want to look for is, do all the bikes look the same, or are there bikes that look a little bit different from each other? And if they all look a little bit different, then you're probably in a great place to at least start your search. And that'll give you the opportunity to test ride as well. So you also want to walk in somewhere where test riding is something that they support, right? You want to make sure that they're comfortable letting you get out there and try a road bike, try a mountain bike, try a comfort bike. And I think it's important that, the staff is willing to give you the time to take those test rides, especially for riders that haven't been on a bike in 20 years, or you're switching to a new category of riding. Let's say you want to step into road bike. And that's kind of segues into my next thing. When we talk about staff, you want to talk about fitting. So you want to find a staff, or you want to see things in the shop that emphasize fitting. Or at least you want to hear the staff when they talk to you being concerned about your fit to the bike. Fitting in the bicycle world it's a really big thing. It's just like fitting to your shoes. And the fitting is very specific to the type of riding that you're going to be doing for your body. So the way I would fit somebody to a comfort bike is going to be different to how I would fit that person to a road bike. So you just want to make sure that that's something that the bike shop really values, is the fit of the bike. If all they're concerned about is getting you to buy a $1,000 bike, regardless of if it seems to be a fit for your body or your needs, then you should walk away. And bringing that back to 630, that's why we emphasize the body fit a lot, because to us, what's most important here is making sure that the bike fits the rider and fits their needs. And if it doesn't, we don't want somebody to buy it. I would say another thing to look for in the bike shop is a repair section. So you want to make sure that if you're going to buy a bike from this shop, that they have a full staff of mechanics that can support whatever future maintenance needs you may need on the bike. If they don't, let's say you're going to buy a bike at Walmart and you feel like they have the selection and the needs that fit you. If they don't have a repair shop, I would say it's really important to make sure you know where you can take your bike for a reliable repair. So when you walk into a bike shop, you want to see where's the repair area, how many mechanics do they have on staff, maybe ask some questions. How quickly can you turn around my bike if I do need a repair? Especially if you're a daily rider. If you're a daily rider and you pop a tire and you want to take that in and have it fixed, and they say, hey, it's going to take a week because we only have one repair guy and he only works 2 days a week, then that might not be the shop you want to buy from, unless you know of another shop you're going to take it to specifically for your repairs that can turn it around in 10 hours or 12 hours or whatever the needs are for you as a rider. So that, a lot of times repairs can be a really big holdup when people have problems with their bikes. And so I think it's something to consider, especially if you've had to deal with maintenance in the past. That kind of segues me into my next point, which is a warranty. Make sure any bike shop you walk into is going to give you some kind of 3-month guarantee or minimum 2-month guarantee or warranty, where it's, hey, if something goes wrong in that time, we're going to take care of it regardless. Again, we don't do much in the physical bike shop space, but online, that's why sixthreezero offers actually a 365-day test drive policy. We're basically telling our riders, hey, if something doesn't go right and you don't love this bike, send it back to us. So I would say any bike shop you walk into, make sure they have some kind of guarantee or some kind of warranty. Lastly, I would say look for the accessories and look for the parts. You want to see a bike shop that has a pretty good selection of parts and accessories, a place that you can come back to when you're going to need to upgrade or change your bike. No bike is perfect when you buy it out the door necessarily. Lots of riders change things, change seats, change handlebars, maybe upgrade certain components of the bike throughout the lifetime. So you want to make sure that the shop you're buying from has a good selection. The better selection of components they have, the easier it'll be for you to bring it back and say, change out your handlebars, change out a stem. If there's no parts and accessories, in that shop, you just have to tell yourself that won't be the shop you come back to for future repairs. And again, if that's not important to you, then, don't worry about it. However, I would say, people tend to own bikes a long time. And so aligning yourself with a bike shop that can facilitate your needs through the lifetime of ownership is a really good idea, especially if you are a type of person that likes to prolong the life of things you own. If you'd rather buy new, then focus on a shop that, has more competitive pricing on new bikes, but maybe less selection on parts and components. So I would say another piece to this answer is make sure that the bike shop is aligned with your needs. So look for things in the shop that really kind of point out what you want to do with a bike. Again, if you walk in and you want to ride at a leisurely pace on a bike trail and you walk in and there's mountain bike posters everywhere, I'm pretty sure they're not going to be conducive to helping you find something for your needs. Now, they may still try to sell you something, but I would guess that they're not trying to sell you the product that is best for you. If you want running shoes, generally don't go to a tennis shoe store. So very similar thing. And so it depends on where you are. The bike shop that is right for you depends on where you are in your search. And lastly, I'll say, if you're in the beginning of your search, start at a shop that can offer you a big selection, big price range to really get you a knowledge of the market. If you're deeper into your search and you want a mountain bike, then look for the shops that scream things specific to those needs. A memorable experience at a bike shop for me, there's actually a bike shop. So for those of you that don't know, our company sixthreezero is actually named after the area code I grew up in Naperville, Illinois. The area code there was 630. And the bike shop I went to as a child growing up was actually called Bicycles, Etc., which was located just down the street from where I lived. And I can't think of the memories when I was young of bike shops. I can't seem to remember them, but I do remember my bike shop experience prior to leaving for college because, going to college for me, I thought about, okay, I want a bike and I want something that can help me get around from class to class. And I walked in there and I remember, they helped me out for a long time. And that was the first time I actually bought a hybrid bike. And I had no idea what it meant or what it was, but it had, these kind of semi-thin tires that would, go over curbs well, but still allow me to ride fast. And so I remember that because that was the first time I bought like my kind of adult bike, so to speak. All of my bikes previous to that were more kid bikes. And I kind of went through this phase of in high school, not really riding bikes as much as I did when I was younger. And when I was younger, yeah, it was more riding BMXs. BMXs back in the 90s were really the cool kind of bike for kids. And after bike riding was quote unquote not cool in high school, coming back to a bike shop, senior year of high school and needing a bike for more of as an adult, and secondly with real like street needs. Like I actually needed a bike to do something for me, which was transportation and get me places faster than walking. And so I remember that experience because it was like the first time I was deciding really on like specific needs other than just being cool. Buying a BMX when you're younger was more about like, it's just whoever had the cooler color, or whoever had pegs on the back, or like, oh, cool, you could like spin your front handlebars backwards or do things like that. And so I spent about 3 hours in the shop that day, test riding in the parking lot, and kind of walked away with that bike. And it was just like, it was like my first real adult mode of transportation in college, because I didn't bring a car to college. A lot of college kids don't. And so your bike kind of becomes your like prized possession when you're on campus. And I kept that bike all 4 years and logged a lot of miles on it. And the lock that I bought that day, I kept all 4 years. It was like a folding steel metal lock. And that was that was probably the greatest $450 I'd ever spent in terms of what the benefit I got out of it was. And to this day, I'll be grateful for Bicycles, Etc. They got me to all my classes on my new wheels, and I graduated. So yeah, thanks for that. The way to get the best deal on a bike at a bike shop, there's a couple kind of hints and tricks to it. I would say number one, do your research. I think in this day and age with the internet, there's lots of information on the internet. There's lots of blog articles and information that can tell you, am I paying too much? Am I paying too little? So I would say number one, what you can do is check the manufacturer's websites. Make sure that you know what any MSRPs are for a particular bike. It's not unheard of that bike shops would try to sell a product for more than the MSRP, especially if it's a very desirable product. So if you want to know walking into it at least what those manufacturer suggested retail prices are. Secondly, know what other sites and websites are offering the bike for. Now, I think there are some advantages to certain bike shops over other bike shops that may be a reason why they're selling for a little bit more than another bike shop. So you don't always want to shop on price. You want to make sure that the shop you're buying from is supplying you with the value that is best for you. So if one shop is $30 more, but they give you a lifetime warranty, maybe that's best for you. But I think it's important that you at least know the prices that are out there. And with a lot of bike companies, you can see the prices posted online and different websites and things of that nature. So do your research. I think the second and best way to get a deal is closeouts. So most bike companies going into the end of the year, just like car companies, are going to close out their model years. Now, some bikes don't change as frequently as others. Road bikes and mountain bikes tend to have a yearly model where they'll upgrade or change color schemes. A lot of times in the more recreational segments, bike models may not change yearly. However, the company still may release a bike as a new year, even though it didn't change much from the previous year. So what ends up happening is a lot of times going into about August, September, October, after the summer's over, you're going to see a lot of bikes move to closeout. Now, this is true for a lot of retail industries, right? Like Christmas, obviously, and it's going to be moving to closeout, as we creep closer to Christmas Day, and after Christmas, everything's going to be 90% off. Bikes are no different. Summer is the primary bike riding season. The majority of shoppers are looking to buy a bike in April, May, and June because they still want to have time, June, July, August to be out riding. September hits, even in California, where we're in a climate that is conducive to bike riding year round, people go back to school. There's just less time for recreational activities, things of that nature. So coming out of summer into August, bikes move on to closeout price. So if you're willing to wait and you don't have an absolute need for a bike, try to buy your bike September, October, November. That's going to be your best opportunity to get a deal. Go check websites and see what they're closing out. Check with the manufacturers, and then come into the bike shop and you'll see a whole bunch of things, and then ask them questions. Hey, do you have any bikes moving to closeout? Or are there any year-end models that are going out? Same questions you'd ask at a car dealership if you're looking to get a good lease or buy a car. Hey, when are the 18s coming in? Are you going to have any inventory that you need to sell before the 19s come in? Things of that nature. So, and generally that can save quite a bit off the retail price. I would say anywhere from 0 to 40%, depending on what model year the product was. Sometimes they may have closeouts that have been sitting there for 2-3 years. My suggestion, especially on the more expensive bikes, road and mountain bikes, is if you know that the bike shop has a model year bike from, say, 2017, I would make them an offer and offer them something lower than what the tag even says, because at this point, they're going to be really motivated to get that bike off their floor. So those would be my best suggestions on how to get a best deal on a bike. However, don't let your need for a deal come before your actual needs, because if you're too focused on getting the right deal, you may end up with a bike that over the long term is not going to get used anyways, because it's either uncomfortable or it doesn't take you where you want to go.